guys. I'm gonna demonstrate some of the reporting capabilities of the parametric parts that we've been working on. Start with a little overview of the parametric part. So in this case, the gable end, this panel number 3. Some of its properties is its offset from the left, how far it is away from this corner, 4 feet in this case. The thickness of the panel, 5.5 inches. No extra steel. Its left height is 12 feet, its right height is 12 feet, as opposed to a panel above it that has a left height of 1'4" and right height of 2'8". Got a width of 4 feet. Stud spacing is 1'4", 16 inches. So its panel number, and this is something we've been working on, panel number is 3. Skip down here a little bit, and copy of 0, which means that this is the unique panel on this wall. If there were multiples, this might be one of the multiples, so it's panel 3 that has all the properties of panel 3, but this is copy number 1 or 2, but in this case it's a unique panel on this wall. Gauge of steel while we're down here, in this case is a CSJ, which is a 3 5/8 face stud with 1 5/8 leg, 20 gauge. Area is 48 square feet. And so what we've been working on is this data dump, basically, where we're the parts and pieces of the panel are dropped in this data. And so how do we extract that? So I'll be demonstrating, working my way through that process. Again, you can see the other properties of the panel, and that creates the parts and pieces cut list here. Alright, so we got a big project though. That's one wall. This is wall B. Wall C. Wall D. See wall D. We've got some extra steel, headers, roof panels, RP1, RP2, and some ceiling panels. Alright, so we're going to be exporting all of this to extract the data from what I'm calling a pile of parts, basically, for each panel. And generate a report with it, something that makes sense that we can use for a cut list to create these panels. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is save as. I'm just going to put a static file. So the intelligence, what we're going to do now is take away the intelligence, the logic of the parts, in order to isolate just this pile of parts, because this is where the information is stored to generate the report. select. So these are all the parametric parts for wall A. I'm going to run an explode command or an export. Takes a little bit, spins. So now these are all individual parts and pieces. They may be groups of polylines. You can see the selection has now changed from parametric parts to polylines, text, groups, parts, groups, graphics. And that's what we're going to need in this static file. So the logic is still there in the original file, but in this static file we're storing just the parts and pieces. This portion gets transferred to traveler sheets. The elevations and plan views with dimensions gets transferred to shop drawings. But what we want to try, what we want to work on is a pile of parts, creating the raw data. To create these panels. I like HDO and expanded polystyrene. So these are ThermaSteel panels, ThermaSteel shop drawing process, production documentation being generated in a TurboCAD CAD platform. Roof panel. That's a bunch of parametric parts all at once being disassembled basically into a list of parts and pieces, polylines and text. So we can run our reports and get the information that we need. What we've been working on recently is actually a little bit of work on the parametric part, but mostly how to handle the data, because this is we're generating the start of what could be a tremendous amount of data, and so we need to figure out how to manage that. So we'll take a quick look here at some of these parts as we zoom in. It's almost, I kind of described it as a barcode, and it has a depth to it though. So where the information is being stored actually has a thickness as well, and we've used that thickness to store the panel number. So this is panel 1. You can see it's only 1 inch thick. Okay, this is panel 2, is 2 inches thick, and this will make more sense when we get to the reports with the data being generated. Right. What we're going to do is select all the pile parts. Get them working. On a separate file then. See that right now it's still I did drop the first step. Back up. Kind of a little behind the scenes, what's going on here. There's a number of parts that aren't created, that aren't needed on each panel. And that information, the information about the parts that aren't needed on a particular panel, is stored right in this corner. There used to be an actual polyline of no dimension. We were able to clean that out to free up just a tremendous amount of data that wasn't being built, parts that weren't being made, that were still included in the list. Alright, so again, I'm going to save the selection as, let's call it parts. Just the selection that I have selected, pile of parts. I'm going to open the parts. So now we've got just the piles of parts. Got some dimension to them. Alright. So what we have is still a panel at a time. This is one group of graphics. It's a panel. So we're going to take all of these and one more time export those into their individual lines. Export or explode. It's TurboCAD's explode command. But again, we're taking dynamic information and creating the static parts. We're taking away their logic. No longer groups of graphics, but instead the individual parts. And this is where the data is stored for those parts. That's why we've got to get to it. We've got to explode it, so that instead of being a group of graphics, it's all one panel. Now it has the information about that that particular piece. So this line that I just selected, these first four, I think it's 4 or 5 lines, they're panel metrics. I'm storing information in these that are information about the panel. This particular line represents the net area of the panel. That's the surface area of the panel less notches. If there's an angle, like a gable end, window openings are removed for this measurement of the net area. So this line measures 3 foot 4 or 40 inches. So that's a net area on this panel of 40 inches, 40 square feet, represented in the length of 40 inches. And we'll get to that as we generate the report and interpret the report then, this raw data. Okay. Okay, so we got to add some fields here.